Welcome to Kaumudy Global. Even when Russian forces gathered on the Ukrainian border in February, Finland's Prime Minister stated that his country would not join NATO. Finland now is rushing towards joining the alliance 3 months and one invasion later, a significant leap for a country with a long history of wartime neutrality and avoiding military affiliations. After Finland's final decision, Sweden is likely to apply for NATO membership as well. Sweden will be the lone Nordic NATO non-member if Finland joins. Sweden has been resistant to joining the organization for ideological reasons, unlike Finland, whose policy stance was a question of survival. I'm Anjana, and let's know how Russia prompted Finland and Sweden to reconsider NATO membership. NATO was founded in 1949 as a method of collective defense against the military might of the Soviet Union and its allies by governments in Western Europe and North America. During the Cold War, however, there were two major countries who refused to join, that is Sweden and Finland. Instead, these countries chose a different path to security, a carefully maintained official policy of non-alignment and neutrality. After almost 3/4 of a century, the Russian invasion of Ukraine has forced both the Swedish and Finnish administrations to openly consider joining the NATO after decades without it. Finland's President Sauli Niinisto and Prime Minister Sanna Marin announced on Thursday that their country might apply for NATO membership without delay after weeks of internal debate. A similar announcement from Sweden is largely expected next week. Their bids have been accepted by the military bloc. The accession of Sweden and Finland to NATO would be one of the most significant changes to the alliance in decades, as well as a major shift in both countries' international standing. Why were Sweden and Finland neutral? During the Cold War, Sweden and Finland maintained diplomatic neutrality while their neighbors Norway and Denmark joined NATO. They maintained this approach for decades, even as the military alliance grew. Though they were both neutral, their motives were different. In the 19th century, Sweden had an official policy of remaining neutral during conflicts. The last time it fought was in 1814 when it fought neighboring Norway. It had fought the Russian Empire in a war that ended in 1809 with Sweden ceding the country that would become Finland to Russia. Unlike Finland, Norway and Denmark, which were invaded despite declaring neutrality during World War II, Sweden maintained its neutrality and did not join the conflict. Finland had a different experience during the harsh 1939-1940 Winter War when it fought off a Soviet invasion. The country, which had only gained independence in 1917, would later fight the Soviet Union and then Nazi Germany during World War II. The country lost around 10% of its area in the end, but it remained autonomous. It became officially neutral after a 1948 agreement with the Soviet Union. However, its difference to its larger neighbor meant Finlandization became a byword for a form of limited sovereignty. When did the move away from neutrality begin? Sweden and Finland were never entirely neutral. Decades after the Cold War ended, it was revealed that Sweden quietly cooperated with NATO while Soviet submarines harassed it, most notably during the 1981 Whiskey on the Rocks incident, when a Soviet Whiskey-class submarine ran aground off Sweden's south coast. However, things changed dramatically after the Soviet Union fell apart. Sweden and Finland quickly abandoned their claims of neutrality and chose to be the military non-aligned instant. In 1995, both countries joined the European Union. After Russia's takeover of Crimea in 2014, there was yet another shift. Finland and Sweden increased their official collaboration with NATO in response to the move, as well as Moscow's support for separatists in eastern Ukraine. Sweden, which had drastically reduced its military following the end of the Cold War, reinstated a limited form of induction in 2017. The Russian invasion of Ukraine on February 24 appears to have shifted the situation beyond repair. Significantly, public opinion in both countries is now in favor of NATO membership, with recent polls showing that 57% of Swedes and 76% of Finns support it. Finland's Undersecretary of State for Foreign and Security Affairs, Kai Saur, recently told the Washington Post that the country has long been realistic about the possibility of violence. He stated, "There is a very strong willingness to defend the country. It might sound old-fashioned, but it is a consequence of our history and geographic position." While Finland's center-left government has been fast to embrace NATO, Sweden's government, which is also governed by a center-left party, has been more cautious. In March, Swedish Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson spoke out against NATO membership, but local media claimed this week that the country would submit its application next week. How would Sweden and Finland change NATO? Geographical shifts may be the most obvious. Finland has an 830-mile border with Russia. If it joins NATO, the military alliance's frontier with Russia will be doubled. While Sweden does not have a physical border with Russia, it does own the strategically vital island of Gotland, which is only 200 miles from Russian troops in Kaliningrad. Sweden and Finland have modern militaries with equipment that is compatible with NATO systems. Before Russia invaded Ukraine, Finland completed the acquisition of 64 F-35 fighter jets from Lockheed Martin in the United States. Finland has already met the NATO target of 2% of yearly GDP for military spending, while Sweden is at 1.4%. Moscow has denounced the prospect of either country joining NATO, threatening retaliatory measures to balance the situation. However, NATO has indicated that it would welcome the membership, and the US and the UK have guaranteed security during the application process. This is Anjana signing off. Do like and share this video. For further updates, subscribe to Kaumudy Global.